Looks like we're on. Looks like we're live.
Everything's in progress, Michael. It's a beautiful thing. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. There's a man who's in progress. Our meeting is in progress, so we are into our as well are in progress. That's New York Vinnie, and he's in Seattle, Washington.
And that's Michael Knight. He is in the beautiful city of Los Angeles, California.
Somebody turned up the heat today. It's 82 degrees outside right now. We're going for a high later in just a couple hours of 96 to 98 degrees.
Well, Mikey, I'm always going for a high. I mean, one way or the other.
I'm counting on that. I'm counting on that to be true. So, what's your high going to be today?
I think we hit 69, I believe, yesterday, which the numbers keep on rolling. And I believe that
the hits just keep on coming.
I believe we may top that 69. We may jump right on top of that.
Of course you will.
Yes. Although it's been a while, Mikey, so I don't know.
Well, careful with the rib when you jump on top of the 69, would you please?
Yeah, that's we just don't want we want no further injuries. But
opening day for some baseball teams.
And some baseball teams are actually 1-0 as of today, like the New York Mets.
Well, I'm predicting because the San Francisco 49ers are playing the Miami team, the Miami Fish, 3 games before meeting San Diego. I'm saying sweep. I'm just not saying who's sweeping who yet. Yes, right. I am. Of course I am. On opening day, we make a little joke, but Giants sweep the Fish from Miami, 3 games.
Opening day doesn't lose its luster, does it? I mean, over last time we met, I sat here and bitched for an entire, hour and change about the designated hitter and about this and about that. But the reality is, Mikey, that opening day never really loses its luster. Opening day of the baseball season.
Did you see the cartoon? Did you see the cartoon in the New Yorker? Mr. Met being chased by kids down the street, and it looks like an angry mob.
Yeah, somewhere in Queens. It says I have it sitting right up here on my Patuta screen.
And
well, I don't know what more you could want out of last night's game. They opened the season by beating Washington. The top 2 pitchers were not available to participate in the contest.
Yeah, that's a problem for New York Mets.
Yeah, some kid who was scheduled for the minor leagues came in last night, and now everybody's talking about him as the starter.
Remember how Lou Gehrig got his job?
Yeah, he got was it
Wally Pipp?
It was Wally Pipp, right? I was thinking of Herb Dahlgren, who was the guy that replaced him. 4,000 and however many games later.
You don't want to be either one of those guys. You don't want to be the one who replaces him or the one who loses his job forever to him.
Well, I'd rather be the guy that gets replaced by Lou Gehrig. I'd rather be that guy than maybe the guy on the other end. But I'd just, I'd be happy if I got up there and play one game, 1 inning.
What's the kid's name? The pitcher who just pitched himself into a job.
Boy, let me pull up the box score. Unfortunately, Mikey, with the large number of substances that I happen to be taking now between colds and
ribs,
hurt ribs here,
and staying up all night, you big dummy.
Well, I got you had to.
Work needed to be done.
It needed to be done. It had to get done. I was the one charged with getting it done, and so there we go. It's oh man, it was just it is what it is sometimes.
In fact, it is what it is every time.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's not. It is what it is. A lot of times.
Well, while you look for that, I'll mention something that.
Yeah, McCann. No, what a McCann. He used to catch. Boy, I tell you, man, Mikey, you have to send me a note before you ask me these questions. The problem here now, I just noticed it. I'm looking for the pitcher in the lineup. So I go down and I look at the 9-hole,
And
and
he ain't there.
some guy named Jankowski McGill is Tyler McGill is the pitcher who went in there last night and struck out 6. Pitched I believe
Pitched a great game for a kid.
pitched a shutout. And probably solidified himself, at least on the strength of this performance, with a longer look once DeGrom and Scherzer, I should say, come back.
Yeah, and they're on the older side of their career, so coming back is not always the quickest thing that happens.
Right, it's going to take
if it's not the knee, it's the arm, and if it's the
well,
arm, boy, you gotta be careful.
If I would say he's on the older side. I mean, Scherzer definitely is.
Yeah.
I don't know if that DeGrom is, but if this rotation holds together as now people look at it and think it might, the Mets really could have something here. So
it starts with pitching and staying healthy. Those are the steps that keep you in the league.
Well, yeah. Here's a kid out of Huntington Beach, California, that people are looking at. He was charted, as I said, as a relief pitcher, but he came in and kept the Nationals off balance. Now today, you have the Mariners opening up in Minnesota.
Yeah, the Mariners just signed their shortstop for 50 years or 50 million. Which is it?
I don't know. To be honest with you, was it the Mariners signed, or was it the Pirates that signed?
No, the Mariners signed their shortstop. I don't know the guys on that
Crawford.
team.
Yeah, I like J.P. Crawford. I thought
he got him.
Nice spot for that game last year.
Yeah, you got him through his entire career now.
Well, he signed a 5-year deal. I was thinking because the Pirates signed, did something they rarely do, signed a player yesterday to an extended contract. He was Crawford was a guy that they brought over from the Phillies. They acquired him from the Phillies. 27 years old. I think he's one of those shortstops. He's not that typical shortstop that we've seen over the last, since the Alex Rodriguez's of the world. He goes back to more of the Nomar Garciaparras of the world, where
they both played a long time.
Yeah, he's not the big dude. He's not going to give you a ton of home runs, but man, he plays that position. He goes from side to side defensively.
Now you can build an infield around him.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what they're doing. They made some nice acquisitions over the off season, and I think they have. Listen, you know as well as I know that you have to be, if you're going to win anything, you got to be strong up the middle. Your catcher, your second baseman, your pitcher, your shortstop, your center fielder, and all have to be able to contribute defensively.
Because the season is so long, any place that you're weak is going to show up over and over again and cost you games and cost you errors and cost you leads and make you angry. And you will throw your flip-flop at the television before it's all over if you have a weakness that can't be fixed throughout the entire season.
And if JP stays and does what he did last year for this team, he'll be worth every dime that they spent on him. And he was just he wasn't only, an on the field guy, and played his game on the field well, but he was also one of those guys that you stick into a clubhouse, and he's respected because of his ability.
And good things happen.
Right. The other players don't look at him and say, "Oh, look at this motor mouth. He's got something to say." But every time you hit a ball to him, he's looking up in the stands at some hoochie. I think he's a solid guy. I think the Mariners Mariners have now made a jump. The Mariners are no longer unexpected to contend. Not expected to contend. The Mariners now have to contend.
Well, you know, the strangest things happen to teams that have to do something. You got to prove yourself. You got to go out there and prove yourself. But well, half the time, or maybe 3/4 of the time, they have the goods to actually do that. But it's a long season, as I said. One injury puts a stop to that. One mistake puts a stop to it. One slump puts a stop to it. It's a cruel game, especially to my teams.
Yeah. Oh no. Listen. I mean, we've seen that. You know, the one thing you notice about the great teams, and that was the especially evident when going back to 2001 when the Mariners won 116 games. The person that you plug into the spot of the guy who was injured, who was thrown out, who for whatever reason could not play the game, has to be at least 85% to 90% as good as the guy he replaced. Oh,
Yeah,
if you have that philosophy and you have that belief in your players and you're able to uncover those gems out there, you have a shot at winning. I mean, and I think part of the signing of a guy like Crawford, I don't think it's just in the Mariners case, I think it's generally in baseball, is when you see teams that are starting to contend, starting to be in the conversation when it comes down to the playoffs, when it comes down to the title, when it comes down to all of that kind of stuff, is that you take a guy like Crawford, you pay him well, and it says to the 25 or 27, whatever they got in the clubhouse now, guys in that clubhouse, that if you perform here, we're going to pay you. We're gonna make it worth your while. You're not just sitting here waiting to go somewhere else.
Interesting. And the one other element of a winning team, that when you put the best team you have on the field, what do the executives do the rest of the year? And the most interesting teams are staying very active, picking up pitchers that get released, picking up an infielder that got released, keeping them, putting them in AAA, stocking up their players in the past, see which one turns hot, bringing him up, taking somebody else's place who's not hot, moving all the time. We acquired so many pitchers in the offseason, and an infielder from the Philadelphia, and all these people that are brand new to me on the Giants. And I know a lot of teams did that. The Dodgers are very active in that way. They change their lineup. They bring people in. They're always on the look for someone who's loose out there. There's so much talent. There are some places that they can't keep a good third baseman. They can't keep. They're out of moves on them. They've sent them to the minors too many times. And the good front offices, Vinnie, and I don't know if the Mariners are on this list, but we'll find out. The good front offices are active and bringing people in and saying, look, I brought in a shortstop that in the third position, he hits 270. Well, what about the guy you got there? He hits 240. Oh, I got you. And that's the end of that conversation.
Well, you try to pick up the guy who's going to deliver a strikeout for you, who's going to, if you look back at some of these teams that come up huge in the second half of the season in the postseason, it's not always a guy who wins the Cy Young Award like a Robbie Ray, but it's the guy, as you just said, who you put on your roster, you pick up in April when other teams don't want this guy. Nobody can give him a job, and this guy's desperate to get anything. Yep. Then all of a sudden, October 6th, in that first playoff season, Spanky Spankowitz steps up to the plate and delivers a line drive.
Spanky's that kind of player.
Yeah, and he scores the tying run, and then comes back in 2 innings later in another at bat and delivers the winning bunt, the suicide squeeze, because this is the guy that you picked up in April with the express consent is this guy's going to do something huge for me in October.
Yeah,
I think there are certain front offices that work with that philosophy. That it's you usually have to have some kind of money, but if you don't have the money, then you have to have the brains.
Yep.
You have to be able to do that. That's why, I never look at play, or hardly ever look at players. I'll say never, but I hardly ever look at players and say, "Oh, this guy's just going to be a bum." You know, he's not, why did you pick this guy up? I mean, he's just a waste because general
He's-
managers watch these players, they watch the scouting reports, they have people out on the field, they compile information on these players, like their World War II spy dossiers.
and they never forget anything. They say, "I know it looks like a bum on paper, but I've seen this kid play.
He's a
He ain't
baseball player.
he's not a bum.
Yeah, he's a
Right now
baseball.
he stinks, but he's not a bum."
Right, right. Because I've seen him deliver. He stays cool under pressure. He has a good sense of what the strike zone is, or what the a certain aspect of the game is that maybe out of 20 or 25 other guys on a roster, he may be the only one or two or three that have something like that. And now that we're in competition, we're actually serious about it.
Yeah.
That's the guy. That's the Brian Doyle. That's the Buddy Biancalana. That's the guy that's going to make that. That's the guy that will never have to buy a drink in the town he plays in again.
Dirty Al Gallagher.
There's Al Weiss.
Yeah.
There's just a long list of players who come along and perform way above their heads, their their hat size, way above their expectations. They sign, they get in there and they either swing or they make the sign of the cross, and they do whatever they got to do to get on base, and that inspires other teammates, and it gets them many times to where they need to go. Not always. I mean, everything, nothing always happens, but these are the days where the champions are built. You can always say it's the big free agent signing, it's this, and you might be right. I would always say that you're wrong. I said it's the guys that you haven't heard of in April that will make your October.
Now reverse that a little bit and apply it to basketball. I was just reading an article in SF Gate, which is the online presence of the San Francisco Chronicle. And this headline, they don't do a lot of sports. They do some, but they don't do a lot of sports. They have some of the Chronicle thing. But here's a big headline story that Steve Kerr's got to go. And we've had enough of that. We've had enough of Steve Kerr. We've had enough of the championships. They're never coming back with the championships. Klay Thompson's not going to be any better. The rest of these guys can't shoot. The rest of these guys are showing their age. What's the word that they use? They are struck with the whiplash of the championships. They can't recover. Too many injuries, too long in the tooth, too old, can't play, and a fading pedigree of a team is how they described them. So they couldn't find anything on the Warriors that interested them, not anything whatsoever. None of the players are worthy anymore. The coach has got to go, and the fading pedigree makes them a poor bet for the playoffs. So that's what happens when you have championships. After you've had a couple, believe me, Vinnie, nature shows you there's only one way to go, and that's through the door and down. Through the door, first down, first steps on your left.
Yeah, it's something that's always bothered me about sports. It certainly is a what have you done for me lately endeavor.
And you're too old to do it again anyway.
And once you get there, maybe you get you get to that level once or twice or three times, and if you're lucky, and then all of a sudden, everybody who loved you and bought your T-shirts and named their children after you just 3 months ago, when the season ended and you had all the confetti coming down from the ceiling. Now, those same people have their fangs out for you. They want to take you down as quickly as possible. Because why, Michael? Because winning is an addiction.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't win today. That's why I hate you.
Yeah. You can't supply the euphoria that goes along with winning for the people who are paying their money to come in. Mariners did that in the 90s, probably as perfectly as, or really in the 2000s, the late 90s, early 2000s, probably as perfectly as any team could. $100 million payroll, 100 losses.
Wow.
First team ever in Major League history to do that. Really? First team in Major League history to have $100 million plus payroll and lose 100 games. Not even the 62 Mets.
Many have tried, but failed.
Many have tried, but Steinbrenner certainly threw a lot of mud at it.
Yeah.
But he couldn't do it. And the Mets have the Mariners have the distinction of being able to do that.
I want to see what happens to the A's this year. They got rid of everybody.
Yeah.
They have a double A or triple A team. And the funny thing about the A's is so much talent. They don't seem to be interested in winning. They're just interested in staying in the American League. But they keep coming up with enough talent to play. That's the strangest part.
Well, I happened to peek in a little bit last night on Moneyball. Probably watched that great scene when they're sitting around the table with all the scouts, and he asks them, "Who's this guy?" That's Jeff. Well, does Jeff belong here? Yeah, Jeff's staying in the room.
I need Jeff.
I need Jeff. And you got all these seasoned baseball looking guys who are looking at each other, and they're used to just telling the general manager, "Well, I think the guy's good." Well, why? Well, I do, because I know a baseball guy. And here comes Brad Pitt saying, or Billy Bean saying, "Well, no, wait, I think I know a little bit more than you do. I'm the general manager."
Nah, you don't know anything about this
and that
kid.
Great formula. He lays out the formula. We have 3 guys for $300,000 apiece, or we can have 1 guy for $2 million and put all our eggs in one basket. Or if the other guy goes down, all the stuff that goes along with the movie. And I think it's great. It was a great piece of the line where baseball really changed. Where baseball became a sport where, or an operation where the general manager didn't just have to be a friend of the owner to get the job. He actually had to know something.
He had to know quite a bit.
He had to prove himself sitting on the hot seat in front of the owner of the team. And
well, Van, one thing that makes that possible, and I was just thinking of it, where do all these players come from? If you can play that kind of game, where do you get 3 outfielders for $300,000? Well, with college ball and with minor leagues and with the foreign players from the Far East and from South America and Latin America, there's a talent base out there where you can play that kind of ball. You may not win the championship, but you could very well be a playoff team because there's so much talent out there.
Yeah. Well, and that goes against, though, what the conventional wisdom and what many people, how many times have we heard when we've been interviewing people? Well, ever since the first expansion, it's never been the same. The talent that is out there is less now because you don't have 16 teams anymore. Now you have 30 teams.
Well, that's true, but I think there's enough talent to meet the needs of the teams.
Well, yeah, what that argument never takes into consideration is that we've also grown 200 or 300 or 500 more million people on the planet.
Yeah.
So it kind of knocks that argument out, I think. And the fact that there are so many other options available now to kids that weren't available when we were growing up.
Yeah, it's true.
We were, now, you can, do you know anybody who got sent to hitting school?
No.
Or traveled with a, AAU, AAXX team or anything like that? No. You went down the corner at, 10 o'clock in the morning and you choosed up sides and you played ball until you heard your mother screaming, "Get home." Dinner's up.
Get home. You forgot the bases. Come back and get the bases. Yeah.
And that's what you had shirts for.
Yeah.
You played, you loved playing the game and you went out there and you played it and you felt there was a euphoria that was better than any drug that anybody was ever going to give you. It was the feeling of inclusiveness, belonging, of those bursts of energy that come along when you connect or you punch the ball, right, or whatever particular game you're playing. Just as the air is sucked out of you when you find out that we don't have enough guys to play two teams, so you're today's designated pitcher.
Oh God, yeah.
And like giving a Vinnie a pitch for both sides today.
It's funny. I grew up in Kentfield, California, in Marin County. We played on the street. We played so many games of baseball on that street, and it was a narrow street. And I'm just wondering why we never got the idea of a broom handle and a Spalding like they did in the East Coast. It was, the neighborhood was perfect for it. All the neighborhoods in California, all the streets, all the cul-de-sacs, it's perfect for a Spalding and a broom handle. And I just wondered why we never played that way, because while we weren't playing that way, the other kids were.
I wonder too, Mikey. How could we find out why? Is there somebody you can call? You have some guy named Chick or Lefty or some.
Frankie moves to town. Where are you from? I'm from Queens. How come you don't play in the street? We do. No. You got to get a broom handle.
And you got to tape it.
Yeah.
Your mom will not be upset if she misses a day of cleaning the house because you're whacking a Spalding. Or
You don't break
on
his
the West Coast, I always noticed they use tennis balls.
We used wiffle balls. We used softballs. And if you had a ball, that's the ball you used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why there's so many young men on the West Coast with just one ball.
And I can assure you, if it goes over that fence right there, that fence I'm pointing to, your ball's gone. We don't go in there. Okay. Do not hit it there.
And how's that going to serve me in later life? Oh man, it just reminded me of a story, but I can't say it on air because people would probably know the guy I'm talking about.
All right. Well, then there's a story.
I don't want to go there, but it's just it ends with the phrase that dum has just one ball.
Oh, injury, man down.
Oh, did you ever get hit in the nuts with a baseball?
I was a catcher.
Yeah, so was I. So I got it from Charlie Russo, man. I'll never forget as long as I live.
And although I hated a cup, I was wearing one that day, and it didn't do the least bit of good. It may have made it worse.
I was not wearing one, man. It took me a while. He threw up what passed for a fastball from a 16-year-old kid.
Yep.
And it was a hot day, and I didn't wear my cup, and we had the padding down there, the catcher's pad that has the piece that comes down, but doesn't do anything. No. But it looks good, and sure enough, man, that thing came down and hit me, and I went up rupturing.
Ooh.
And yeah, it was nasty. I mean, I fixed it, and thank God. But boy, I don't know. And I've felt pain in many different ways in my life. And I don't know that there's anything that ever happened in my life that hurt as much as that. I mean, it was, including the gallstones. It was just, I mean, I remember it's just like everything started spinning.
Have you ever heard of the game that they play in Southern California, especially San Diego? They don't play it very much in LA, called Over the Line.
If it's what I'm thinking of, is this like a handball game where
you play in the sand and the field looks like this? This is where the batter stands, and when he hits the ball, the pitcher is here. You pitch to your own man. You toss it up like in batting practice, but you just throw it right up in front of him. He has to hit it over this line. If he hits it over this line, there's two fielders here, and they try to catch it. If they catch it, you're out, and then we switch teams. If it goes over this line long and goes untouched, that's a home run. And you play on the sand, and there's tournaments in San Diego that go on all day long. And it's a fantastic, wonderful game where you use bat control, because your pitcher's right in front of you. He lofts it right up in front. Right. Of course, you got to be careful not to hit your pitcher, but it happens.
Yeah, sometimes you get it.
And it's a variation on softball. It's a variation on playing in the streets in New York. It's a variation on how can you play softball on the sand? Well, you can't really run that well, so we're not running in this game. We're only hitting and fielding. It's great game over the line.
It does the runs or the scores or the points or whatever, is it predicated on how many times the ball bounces, or is it
No, how many hits you get in a row?
okay.
Hit, you got a man on, hit, he scores, hit, he scores, hit, he scores. You get an out, then you got to hit. So you got to get the man on, and then every hit after that is a score. Depending, and some rules change, like you have to every second hit scores. It really doesn't make any difference, but some people, the purists, think so.
We used to play a game in New York, a street game. We played many street games, but one of the we didn't play for money when we were little kids. We played for pain.
Yeah.
And we had a game that it was handball.
Mm-hmm.
But the winner, which would be the whoever got to 21 first would win. The loser of the game had to bend down against the wall, handball wall.
Oh dear.
If you're not familiar with the New York City handball courts, but it's a wall,
cement wall with a white line on it.
Yeah, and usually there's a strike zone painted on it somewhere,
Right.
and and that's what you hit it up against, and it's like a court you'd see in an athletic club, except it's all made out of concrete, and it's all very painful. We would play this game where you would get the handball, but you would win the game, and the other guy would have to go and bend down with his ass up, and you would get to fire at him the difference in points.
Oh no.
So if you got shut out 21-0,
you were never going to walk again.
And that's where many kids that may have grown up in Queens and pitched in the major leagues learn their control, because the object was purely to find the guy's nutsack.
Yeah.
And
what a wonderful story, Vinnie. I can't imagine anybody willingly taking part in that game, but there you go.
They were lined up to play it on days this summer.
Whew. Well,
you couldn't wear, like, you couldn't stuff a notebook down your pants. So you could, if you did that, you would be not only would you have to get all of the pictures again, but you would be ruined.
I assume then that many of your friends were good handball players.
Yeah, you learned how to play fast and quick, man. You learn how to not make mistakes, man. You see little fat kids like me with lightning speed going to that line.
You're damn right. You guys play rather aggressive here in the cement. Yeah, you gotta.
Well, I always told this joke. When I played softball, we played on a black, asphalt court.
Yes. Sure.
And, which is common in New York City. There's not a lot of green space now. Now there's probably a bit more. But I remember my father toughened me up. When he would come to like one of the softball games, and he'd be sitting there and I'd be running toward third base on a hit, and he'd be hollering, slide.
Nah, ain't gonna.
Yeah, maybe not. But there were guys that slid.
Oh yeah.
There were guys that got down on their pants and slid under a tag. It was another art of, because those, you couldn't go home and cry to your mommy in those days. You had to stick around and play. Scrape knee, didn't send you to the hospital. A scraped knee was a ripped pair of pants. And everybody had two pairs of parochial school pants that were ripped in the knees. When a kid that went to St. Joan of Arc that didn't have that.
St. Joan of Arc. She burned.
Oh,
I burned for you was her favorite song.
Absolutely the best barbecues in the Diocese of Brooklyn.
You got to admit they knew how to cook. They knew how to cook a shank.
When Joan was cooking, Joan was really cooking.
It was a tasty dish. I understand. I personally didn't have any.
Ah, yes, very tasty dish.
Some people thought it was over. Well done. How do you like your Joan of Arc? Well done, please.
Not Joan. She was okay with whatever they were serving up. I'll have a leg, please. So I.
More
Oh,
sauce. Yeah, I wanted to mention Pink Floyd. They have a new song out called "Hey Hey Rise Up" with Andriy Kubyunka, I think, who's a singer from the Ukraine. And although Nick Mason plays drums and David Gilmour plays guitar, neither of them sing, and the whole song is in Ukrainian. So if you want to take a listen, you will hear a solo from David Gilmour that's traditionally Pink Floyd. It's the rhythm section from Pink Floyd with their touring group, the bass and the keyboards that have taken the place of the members who have passed on. So if that's interesting to you, I don't think it's going to make the difference in the money raised for support of Ukraine. I'm still waiting for someone to come up with a major concert. I'm thinking Paul McCartney has got the balls and the influence to do it, but it could be anybody. It could be Al Jardine of the Beach Boys. It could be um, Paul Rogers of Bad Company. It could be somebody who says, we're gonna put together an all-star band and invite the top 10 bands in the world, and we're gonna play somewhere, Dodger Stadium. I don't care where, it doesn't matter.
well, Ringo should be the guy that's good at putting that scene together. I mean, he's always putting all-star
He
bands
should be in it. Definitely, he should
taking
be
them
a
out
part of
on
it.
the road and touring. I mean, he's got the mechanics of that.
And yeah, like how would you like John Entwistle and Todd Rundgren in your band?
Be okay with by me.
And Brian
Wilson.
Cummings, the lead singer from the Guess Who. What's his name? Cummings.
Oh,
Burton
Burton
Cummings.
Cummings.
Great voice, extraordinary
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah, his I'm sure you've heard this the song that's on his solo album where he does "You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet" in a melodic jazz version.
Burton Cummings.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's really got some of the best pipes in all of music.
yeah, he's he's a special talent. I've seen the guy a couple of times in concert, and I will go as soon as he does some dates in Canada. I will go see him again because they just lightened up the border restrictions, I guess.
Except for Americans.
Yeah, except for America. If you're from deepest, darkest, um, you know, bubonic plagued Africa, please come to our country. If you're from
Come, you're
Milwaukee,
welcome.
stay the hell out. We live in a crazy world, man. An absolute crazy world. So
Marjorie Taylor Greene's tour of Canada is on hold. Then
you just took the words to quote Meatloaf. You just took the words right out of my mouth. Actually, to quote Jim Steinman. I just before we started the show,
what did you do?
I tweeted out and I was inspired in writing this by watching the little party that Joe Biden was given for KBJ.
Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yes, who was approved yesterday, who was got the approval of 3 Republicans, which is more than they needed. But I just wrote, and this was personally to her on Twitter. Hey, Rep MTG, don't you wish somewhere down in that non-existent soul of yours that you could be as well-spoken, as respected, as intelligent, and as much of an inspiration to their fellow human beings as Justice KBJ? And I look at these 2 people, these 2 women, and it's everything that's right and everything that's wrong with America.
Think of what
convenient package.
You're absolutely right, Vinny. They're pole opposites, and not just racially. They're pole opposites in terms of in their short time on this planet, what they're doing. And the funny thing is, someone with as little talent as Marjorie Taylor Greene can only flood the zone with shit, can only talk trash, can only lie about the truth, can only bring darkness where there should be light, can't offer a solution to anything, can only offer you hate and unrest and chaos and violence and the glorification of stupidity. She glorifies being stupid. She glorifies not knowing the answer and
Yep.
not caring and thinking that two and two is what? Who cares, man? I'm not doing math for you. We don't use math where I come from. We're beyond that. I'm Marjorie Taylor Greene. Two and two is what I say it is.
You so just hit the nail on the head. I mean, I love that. The glorification of stupidity. It is so what is wrong with our country today, that we glorify the people who can't get near the flame, who can't get near the brightness of education, who can't get near the brightness of people who want to move the country forward, not want to stay mired in a state of ignorance and stupidity. The government shouldn't have to get involved in this kind of thing. This
Right.
should come as natural as getting up in the morning and getting out of bed. That you live on a daily quest to know more, to make your space a better place to be, whether you're in Congress, whether you're sitting out in the backyard here in Edmonds, whether you're down in LA, wherever you are, to make it a better place. And that overrules everything else in your life. Make it, how do you do that? By protecting your family, by keeping people that you know educated as to what's happening in the world, not just your family, but the people around you.
Yes.
Building community, building spaces where people who aren't as fortunate as you are have a place to feel safe, have a place to feel accepted. And this piece of crap, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I mean, she is just everything that's wrong. Everything that's wrong. Because it's not about doing any of those things. It is about her raising money for herself.
Yeah. Keep me in little black dresses, everybody. I'm going to speak. Isn't that something? I'm going to actually get up behind the podium and try to put together cogent enough thoughts to actually talk to you for 30 minutes. That's what I'm going to try and do. I'd like to see any of you get up here and try that.
But she can't.
No.
You can't. When you looked at the way that Ketanji Brown Jackson conducted herself in the Rose Garden, talking to people, you looked at her and you said, whether you're Republican or a Democrat or whatever you are, you looked at this woman and you said, boy, if there's somebody I want to decide a case, I think this woman is going to decide it with an education, with a fairness, with a sense of I'm going to do what's right for the country I live in. With Marjorie Taylor Greene, what would you expect out of her if she were in a position where anything that she would rule on?
I think the first thing Marjorie Taylor Greene would say is the law is not important in this case.
Right. Exactly.
The law is not important. How do we feel about it? That's what's important.
Right. And anybody who ever says that has no business ever being a judge.
And I'm feeling kind of cranky today, so I just say 20 years. Hold it. You haven't even heard the charges. Oh, do we have to wait for that? I thought you just wanted me to judge it. I judged it. 20 years. What are we doing now? Let's have lunch.
What's stupider? I mean, what's worse, her or the people that vote her into office?
Same thing. Same thing.
Who gets the bulk of the blame there?
Well, under the law, if you contribute to the crime, like drive the car, you're guilty of the crime.
Right.
So if you voted for this yahoo, that's a crime. You screwed up your vote, you squandered your opportunity, you ruined your chance, and you made a big dog's dinner of it, didn't you? Look at this mess here. Look what you got for a representative. Look what she's doing on your behalf to America. So you're responsible.
What a wise choice by Joe Biden. What just I mean, you know what? Biden stutters, he stumbles. Sometimes he looks like he doesn't even know where he is. I'll give Hannity and all of those clowns that. But you know what? Donald Trump sputtered a lot. Donald Trump looked like he didn't know where he was half the
He just
time.
keeps talking. He talks nonsense, and we've grown used to it. He's a non sequitur with a red tie.
You know, Hannity went on some rant, I should say, Wednesday night or something like that. I don't watch that crap. About Joe Biden and everything that Hannity said against Biden. Jimmy Kimmel and his people took all of the stuff that Trump did that was 10 times worse than anything Biden did and put it up on, put it up so that you could see it. And it was probably the longest piece I've seen on Trump since he left the White House. And it was just, it was so good to see these people at the Jimmy Kimmel show put this piece together. Now, of course, they'll tell you it's a conspiracy. Everybody's always out to get Trump. Trump's an idiot.
He's an idiot. They were out to get Mussolini, weren't they? Yeah, they were out to get him, and they got him.
Yeah. Why? Because he was an idiot.
He was an idiot, and he pushed and he took his idiocy right to the end of his own life, and that of many fellow Italians who didn't have to die.
Yeah. But like Putin, dying means nothing to these people.
No, nothing, not a single thing. That's why he's killing them 50 at a time now. In fact, we've got. I thought we mentioned the latest town that's been hit, Kramatorsk. Keep that one in your mind. Kramatorsk. That's where these people died with one rocket coming in and killing everyone in this one area. 50 or more dead in one swat. That's a lot of bodies.
I get so angered by it, Michael. I mean, I'm really to the point where, I mean, maybe, I mean, are we even considering the possibility or the sense of going and taking Putin out? I mean, are we really? And I have to think we are. I have to think that behind closed doors, that there are people who are sitting there saying, "How do we do this?"
They obviously have a contact somewhere in the higher up echelons, because we knew every move that they were going to make before they made it for the war.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we can put the pressure on that person to find a weakness in the system to bring in an assassin, whether it be poison, shooting, an accident.
Those plane crashes will get you. Or just the simple, what did Andropov get? A headache, right?
If you were Putin, would you be getting on a small plane anytime soon?
If I was Putin, I wouldn't be coming out of the house anytime soon. And I'd have a bevy of my cabinet ministers eating my food before I got to it.
That's how I do it. If I were Black Ops CIA and you just assigned me the job, first thing I do is, who do we know in the inner circle that's passing us this information? Now, here's the deal. In the ugly side of Jean Le Carré politics, he's already passed us the information that makes him vulnerable in his own country. That's how we use it against him. Look, you're in a mess. If they find out what you've done, you're a dead man. If they find out what you've done, your family will die first, and they'll die in front of your eyes. Yeah. Your friends will be tortured and murdered in front of your eyes. And at the very end of all of that, they're going to kill you. There's not going to be a trial. There's only going to be hell from here on out. Yeah. So, understanding that as you do, here's the plan.
And if you carry out the plan,
and that's the ugly side of espionage, Vinnie. But Jean Le Carré will tell you that's the way you play the game.
Right. And if you carry out the plan and you are successful, we will do everything we can do.
You will die a happy man. We'll bring you to the West.
Yeah, we'll either bring you to the West, or if you want to be the next president of over there, whatever country you're ratting on.
And they just say, look, you come to London. We've just taken a lot of property away from the oligarchs. You want a mansion in London? We'll
give you a mansion, a car, and a boat.
We got all these things, and they're in our here's our catalog.
Nobody from over there is going to be able to pick this stuff up anytime soon.
I can assure you, we're not going to be giving them to anyone else before you make your decision. So decide which. Oh, that's a good choice. Good choice for the house. Yeah, I would have liked to live in Knightsbridge or Kensington or someplace downtown.
We have a full array of stuff in our impound yard. Go down
or forget about the apartment. You want something more mobile and maybe a little better security? Live in a yacht on the Thames. We'll just pull it up right here. You live in the yacht, everything's fine. You got a working crew of 20.
Check out our impound yard, top of the hill, Daly City.
Here's a little something to tool around town. This is the Rolls Royce that Vinnie drove through the mud, and it's been on the market for 6 million years. And now it can be yours if you just do the right thing. If we wake up and Putin doesn't, okay? I want to wake up tomorrow, but I don't want that to happen to the leader of the Russians.
Right. Make sure you have this right. You rat him out, you get the Rolls Royce.
You get it to go with the house and the boat.
And let's be honest about it. When the temperature gets down where it freezes your nipples, man, this is the car you're going to want. It has nipple heaters. 2 pens. You stick them on your man boobs, and you're good to go.
And we do apologize. There's some slight mud damage on the undercarriage, but all you got to do is tell them where it came from, and it's a badge of courage.
The Rolls Royce people will actually send somebody to your house to clean it off for you.
Yeah.
We're not selling a car. We're selling an experience.
Yeah, believe me, it's something you'll be talking about with your grandchildren forever. There's only one. There's a downside. If you fail in your efforts, we can't protect you from Putin, but we can get you into Spolpakia.
We get you over to Spolpakia. We don't know who Putin has in Spolpakia,
but count on it. He's got somebody.
Everybody knows he's got somebody. We can probably keep you away from him for a few years. So that's what we do for you.
That's why I use Spolpakia. Everybody's got somebody.
And the people that don't still do.
And that's the Spolpakian right down to his shoes.
Matter of fact, that's the national motto.
That's the national anthem.
Still do.
And you like it there. It's not London, but then again, you didn't come through like you said you would. So all we can do is get you to Spolpakia, and we'll see what happens after that.
It's on our flag. You have the stars, the stripes, and where it says "Don't tread on me" on, all these other flags. We took that off and we put right up there. If you don't, you still do.
Good luck to this guy. He's a Ruski. That's what your new flag says. That's what your T-shirt says. In fact, it's got your picture on it.
What do you got happening this weekend?
I have to get my taxes together. I put it off for too long. I have an appointment and I'm ready to go.
Don't you love doing that?
No. No, I don't.
Yeah, no,
I'm a real baby about it, but I hate it.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I look at that.
What else am I going to do? I guess I will. I know. I was going to catch up with Better Call Saul. The last season is starting to play, and this is the season where they catch up to Walter White and Jesse Pinkman in the history of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, the
Better Call Saul story now has done the prequel, and this is the season where they come up to Walter White and Jesse Pinkman and their transactions in the business world of too much dope too soon. In the world of I have a storage locker full of cash
and another one full of speed.
That's how I got the cash.
And Vanna White standing there saying, "Would you like door number 1 or number 2 or the box that Jay is bringing down the aisle?"
Well, I'll tell you what, you can keep the go fast stuff, but I would be very interested in taking door number 1 if that's where you've got the cash.
I would look into that myself. I would say, a matter of fact, you don't even have to give it to me all. Give me half. Give me half and an hour head start.
And where are you going with all that money? Where everybody goes with dough, Spolpakia.
Spolpakia, I mean, the beach there. It's the only city state that is 500 miles from the closest ocean, but yet has a beach.
And I like the fact that it's the same shape as Kansas. It reminds me of home.
Yeah,
It's square. It's the right angle state, they call it.
remember
Every
that?
time you come, every time you come to a corner, it's a right angle.
Remember that show that they did? They did it like as a special. I think Jason Robards was in it about the nuclear war. What was it? The day after.
I don't think I saw that. I
Yeah,
know the one
it
you
was
mean.
supposed to be nuclear war hits America.
Okay.
And Lawrence, Kansas is the city that they target.
How come?
I'd have to go back and watch the show.
It's a college town. There must have been something at the University of Kansas that they wanted to destroy.
Yeah, I mean, it was something. But anyway, I guess Jason Robards is driving home, and I remember there's a scene where he's just standing out there looking at the skyline of Lawrence, Kansas, and all of a sudden, a flash. And then the rest of the mini series is how people survive. After that, how they get along, how they interact with each other. And I thought about, I guess with all of this going on, I thought about it. I tried to find it, and actually I couldn't find it, but I don't know how hard I really looked. But
that's because you've been influenced by Slovakia. They start a thing and then they just go, who cares? It's just like the whole country is that way.
Well, my older age, Michael, I've gotten to the point where just me caring about it is enough.
I know. You think so, right?
Yeah. I don't worry about who cares anymore. I worry about, do I care about it? How much effort do I care? And if I care about it, can I post it to Facebook? Will it make something interesting for everybody else that follows me or us? And will it, how will it make anybody's day better or more educational?
You know how Facebook shows you something you posted 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah.
I never know what I'm talking about in those things. When they put history, hey, remember this in 2014 when you said blah, blah, blah. And I go, I don't remember saying it and I don't know what I meant. What the hell was I talking about? That was before we got the apartment in Slovakia, so it wasn't that.
Yeah, people don't seem to realize that their lives now have a complete running record.
Right. And it doesn't make any sense.
Well, yes, you did. Let's go back to January 19th, 2014. Vinnie puts a post up. Yes, you said that. Maybe it'll make us lie less.
No, nothing would make us lie less. At least that's the way we think about it in Slovakia.
That's a fantasy, isn't it?
Yeah.
A Slovakian fantasy.
What do they call it? A fading pedigree, just like the Golden State Warriors. The fading pedigree of Slovakia.
Don't worry. Give me one more night at TMC, I should say.
Or GMT.
Yeah,
or BFD.
No more nights at TMZ. Please. If you never see Harvey Levin a day in your life,
we'll be fine.
You'll be good with that. Who pissed him off so much?
Everybody.
He does seem to be a mad little fellow, doesn't he?
He's somebody. He was mistreated as a child, and he's getting even with everybody. And God knows what he's got. Those martinis he drinks out of his, and they make him angry.
Yes, huge. Yeah, he's interesting. I mentioned him because I heard a comic do a bit on him yesterday or the day before. I forget. I was riding his car, and it was hilarious, but it was also in very right on.
Yeah.
Very. I mean, you just can imagine that. What a crappy guy this guy really is.
I discovered a comedian, and I recommend him to everybody. I discovered him through the show 8 out of 10 Cats on British television, and he's dead now. He died 2 years ago. His name was Sean, Sean, Lock, Lock. Look him up on the line. If you like British humor, you're going to like this guy. If you like him, if you watch 8 out of 10 Cats, you're going to see that he's a genius in improvisation and the quickness. I know I'd never heard of him. Never heard of him. He had his whole career and he died before I ever knew he existed. How can that be?
Why would he do that to you?
How could I miss him? How did I miss this guy? I think he was chock full of talent.
Sean Locke. All right, I'm going to have to.
So there's your recommendations, Pink Floyd and Sean Locke. Now tell me about your show for tomorrow, please.
Oh, we do have a show tomorrow. We're going to talk about the concrete pourers have decided to come off a strike long enough.
To pour some concrete.
Strike here to go back to work and pour concrete on the West Seattle Bridge.
Well,
giving us all a glimmer of hope that concrete structure, which
can't tell you how disappointed I am to hear this.
Yeah, it's going on to 3 years now and it hasn't been functioning.
I'd say let's go for 4 years and see what happens.
Well, that's all fine and dandy until you get caught in the traffic.
Yeah, it's fine and dandy until somebody gets hurt.
Yeah. It's just so we're gonna get an update on the West Seattle Bridge. We are going to take a look at the Genesis GV70, which is what I'm driving this week, and I think it's a spectacular car.
Is that what kind of vehicle?
It's a Genesis. It's a Hyundai, actually. But Hyundai, much as Toyota did with Lexus many years ago, they've spun off this high-end brand, and the vehicle's a little SUV, is a sharp, well-crafted car. And so we'll have that. We will, I believe we're going to be live at Shoreline Cars and Coffee tomorrow morning. I haven't finalized that yet, but I'm doing my best to get out there live.
So at Cars and Coffee, do they have cars and do they have coffee?
They have both. And you can even get donuts. You can actually get a bagel with cream cheese.
Oh, smear me.
You can be smeared right on site, but it's a fun little event that the guys at Cars and Coffee Shoreline put on. Starts at 8 o'clock. If you're around the shopping center, just right off of where Aurora Avenue and Westminster Way come together in Shoreline, and you can't miss it. And it's a ton of fun. Lots of cool cars, lots of groovy people. Which I always get a kick out of watching people at car shows. But I certainly, when I see them at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Vinnie, good to see you. I got 5 things I want to say. Hold on.
Yeah, stay off of my car.
I haven't got the coffee going yet. Hold on. I need some coffee. And then I'll listen and you can talk.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure we're going to go down there tomorrow morning. It's supposed to be a nice day, and I don't want to get my butt electrocuted when it rains. It seems like I'm always get some kind of electric shock running through me. So, yeah, that's
so we're going to do the show live. That depends. Are you going to shock Vinnie when he sits down to do the show? Because he won't do it if you shock his butt. He won't do it.
I remember one time when in 2000 when the Mariners won the last day of the season. Matter they had to go do a 1-game playoff, but they did a celebration. I was in the clubhouse, and they started cracking open bottles of champagne, and so I was soaking wet, and I got the mic and those days you had the transmitter, and the transmitter is on my belt. It's on the inside of my pants, and I'm wrapped from the waist down in plastic. And so the moisture has nowhere to go. So every time I key the mic, man.
God, that's crazy. That's nuts.
And
that's what happens when you don't go to enough championships. You don't know how to dress for the occasion.
I've been to a few, but yet, the equipment is old school.
No way.
Nowadays, you wouldn't have to endure that anymore. But
let's go to Vinnie again. No, don't come to me.
You can hear me going in the thing. Oh. Dave Niehaus said it was one of the best performances he'd ever seen. He said, they had, I was standing over here doing radio. Behind me, they had the TV set up. And he said that we were watching TV, you were interviewing somebody, and you could see you moving like this. And Niehaus said, what did he do? Crap in his pants?
That's coming up, but first, this word from our sponsor.
Yes, depends. Big ass, small ass, we cover them all. Try depends.
The strangest things can happen on remotes. I remember KTIM in San Rafael.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
My first remote was in the breezeway, underline the word breezeway, of the Corte Madera shopping center, the Corte Madera Center. And they come to me, we've set up turntables and a board and everything. This is before CDs. And they come to me, how do you do, blah, 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 we'll be here this afternoon, come by and see the blah, blah, blah. And I start my first record.
Here you go.
And a breeze comes through the breezeway, blows the needle right off. Right off the record. We go to programming silence. That was, hello, welcome to Corte Madera. Yeah. And I can't remember the rest of the day. I think we canceled the show. There was no way to keep, there was so much wind, you couldn't keep a record playing.
Keep it on. One of the first remotes I ever did, I did a KUSF.
Good one.
And it was at the Folsom Street Fair.
Oh, yes. Craziness ensued.
It's Sunday afternoon, and we used to broadcast every year from the Folsom Street Fair. It was one of the things KUSF did. We did 3 solid live things every year. Did the Folsom Street Fair. We did the Christmas show that I used to do, and we did election night.
You didn't do Beta Breakers?
No, we didn't do Beta Breakers, but we did 1 year, but that was with KKCY. We actually did it. But we were at the Folsom Street Fair, and it's my 2 hours on the air, you know, because we all split it up into 2-hour shifts, so nobody had to do 4 hours on a remote from the fair. I'll never forget this. So I'm sitting on the corner of
I'll never forget this.
10th and Folsom or something like that. And the Folsom Street Fair is a freak show.
It's a freak show.
There's just everything there. And
but these are professional freaks.
Yeah, these are people. So so there's one guy who comes by, and he must have been like part of the Jim Rose circus, because he's putting oysters in his mouth, and which is something we'd seen before. But then I turn around, and here comes a little guy, a midget. I guess that's what you're gonna call him, a little guy, and he's got the leather get up on with the, you know, the vest, and his little butt is sticking out of the little chaps.
It's not a good look. What's your name? Your name's Lucky? Lucky, here's the thing. This is not a good look. You still have time to change. You just got started. The day's young. Put on your pants and good luck to you.
He's got the leather fisherman's cap on. You know, he's the whole thing. And he's holding a leash. And on the other end of the leash is this guy, and he's like probably about 6'10". And he's also dressed in leather.
Well, of course he is.
And his butt is also hanging out. And I'm telling my producer, I'm not interviewing this guy. No way, because his butt is right about at my face. No way is this happening.
Well, you start with a little guy.
And
you'll figure out, he'll tell you who the big guy is.
They got the little guy walking the big guy. And I just looked, I said to the producer, I said, really, what else is there? I mean, this is sad, but it's a radio career that's over, because what else are we going to see? It's going to top this. You
got to start. Yeah, you started at the top.
Yeah. So they were standing there, and they stopped by. They're big fans of KUSF, of course.
Of course.
And I was like, you know, and again, that's the great thing about Folsom Street Fair is you do what you want to do. As long as you're not hurting anybody, God bless you, right?
And it turns out they're fans of the show and we're nice guys. So you go,
yeah, well, they were great guys.
What am I thinking here? What am I doing? What kind of world do we live in?
Oh, we wound up talking, but it was just that the visuals, like just when you think you've seen everything,
Well,
these two guys caught the spirit of the day. they had.
If you just listen to the audio, you'd never know.
Right.
You have to see them to figure out those are the guys. Those two guys.
Well, no, you wouldn't know because it was one of those. It was one of my Drazen Petrovic moments where you just start laughing and you can't stop. And when you try to announce the guy's death. Sorry, Drazen.
Have a good show tomorrow, Vinnie. What time do you start? 8 o'clock?
We will start at 8 o'clock if the Lost Will in the Creek don't rise. Mikey, have a good weekend. Thank you all so much for listening. And listen, we always say we mean it more than ever. Peace.
Baseball begins today.
Baseball begins today. Support your local baseball team. Ban the designated hitter. Peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
That's what a wine.
All right, take care of yourself.